All right, everyone, it's time for analysis of California 25, a district race there for the House seat vacated by Katie Hill, of course. Really quickly here, everyone is a hypocrite when it comes to Katie Hill except for me, because you got people that obviously don't care who are on the right pretending that her being naked with a female staffer disgusts them or something. No, it doesn't. Stop being stupid. And to Democrats who are pretending that it's sexist somehow to demand she be treated the same way a male would be treated in the same situation is also very hypocritical. The Democrats trying to skew it as though it's sexist that they're trying to force her out of office. No, she shouldn't resign. Again, if a 30-something male politician had naked photos with their staffer, you would absolutely they would be demanding prosecution at that point. With Katie Hill, she just resigns, steps aside. I'm not, though, going to pretend to be disgusted. No, the photos were fine, actually. There was one in which she's smoking a great big-ass bong. I think that probably would be the only thing there that would piss off a Republican in the genuine sense. Of course, many people that claim to have a problem with that sort of thing, they limit it to males, and they have no problem with lesbians, which is apparently what Katie Hill is. I think she was married, though, so it's a little weird, but she's just a kind of a far-out party girl, I guess. Anyway, it looks like the GOP is going to pick that up. Right now, as far as the almost entirely mail-in ballot election that's being held there due to the pandemic, with over 17,000 or something, or 117,000 ballots counted, Mike Garcia, the Republican, is ahead by almost double digits. That lead will probably hold. I can't imagine that particularly large gap is going to be made up in additional ballots. That being said, this is a huge victory for the GOP, not really in the electoral sense as far as representation. This is just one seat in the House. The Democrats, I think, still lead by 17 or 18 seats in the House, so it doesn't really give them an advantage there in the legislative sense. But this could be a foreshock to 2020. The big numbers that we're looking at are that Democrat turnout is lower than it was, and Republican turnout has surged. If this holds true in other races around the country, and there's no real reason to believe this wouldn't be representative, this is a swing district within a blue state. It's sort of like Rutland. Rutland is a swing district, can go Republican or Democrat. It went fairly heavily for Trump in the 2020 election. Vermont might be a heavily liberal state, but there are regions within states that aren't. Most of New York is a red state attached to New York City. Southern Texas is heavily blue, and it's run entirely by Hispanic Democrats. We've got to understand these things because of demographics within states at large. The pickup, therefore, demographically speaking, is underwhelming, because this was something the Republicans held before Katie Hill anyway. They held it for several elections prior. This is, however, the first time that a seat has been successfully flipped by the GOP in, I believe, 20 years, if I remember correctly, at that level. That's significant. The turnout differential, though, is really what we need to look at. If this holds true, the Republicans are going to wipe the Democrats off the face of the earth in the 2020 election. If it's even half of that differential. Because this is the translation of high enthusiasm among Republicans. They have a central leader, Trump, a central talking point, a central platform. It's partially just sloganeering, but it does exist. The Democrats don't. They have a weak steward candidate, Biden, who isn't a leader. He doesn't appear to be one, except to his extremely small core fan base, who think that they think that this demented dude approaching 80 years old is some sort of a savior or strongman. It's really hyperbolic and mimetically falls short, optically speaking. They have multiple schisms within the party. The business Dems don't get along with the left. The neoliberals increasingly can't control either of the other spheres of the party. You have Pelosi doing one thing, Obama doing another, Clinton doing another, Tom Perez sort of on the sidelines, along with Biden just watching things. You have a party without leadership and without a central platform with multiple schisms going on. This has demoralized the Democrats. There's a reason why there are 6 additional points in the enthusiasm gap between Trump and Biden over Trump versus Hillary in 2016. This is a reversal, by the way, of the midterms, where there was no blue wave nationally. In California, there was a wave election, though. Turnout for Democrats then was quite high. They were more well organized. They had something central to attack, which is Orange Man bad. Orange Man right now has managed to gain since that point 5 points of approval. He has reigned over generally a good economy, and we're not in wartime. With the exception of the artificial recession that we're in temporarily because of dumbasses keeping the country closed up for an extended period, everything else is fucking hunky-dory in the United States. That Trump's popularity among Republicans is massive, so when he comes out and endorses Mike Garcia, that throws him additional support. Trump was optimistic it'd be flipped. It looks like indeed there's a 90% chance that the GOP will pick that up. Now, of course, the ballots aren't being done counted. The primary process and the election process in California is by design extremely slow. Not least wise because they have a jungle primary system in which technically you can have either two Republicans or two Democrats fending off against each other. So if you get a district that's not like 50-50, one party is going to tend to control it forever unless there's a wave election. 2018, that happened. The Democrats flipped a bunch of seats that had been held by Republicans, mainly in California. Now one is going back. That's pretty bad news because, again, that hasn't happened in a long time for the GOP. The Democrats picked off a bunch of seats. The Republicans haven't managed to make any headway at all in several decades. This is probably a sign of what's to come in 2020. This is why I believe Trump can win re-election below 47% approval. It'll probably be above that anyway on election day. If trends stay historically stable, usually the incumbent will gain a little bit by election day. Unless he's above 50, then he loses a bit, and it tends to even out. The idea that Biden will be going into the election 9 points ahead is asinine and crazy. Keep in mind, this is a swing district this is Cenk's district. Where's Cenk Uygur there from the Young Turds? He came in 4th place and embarrassed himself. This is where Cenk's political aspirations fell apart and he realized, hey, I'm not as relevant as I thought. Wow, you mean having a fucking glorified podcast and hanging out with CEOs, millionaires, isn't a good way to connect with voters? He only got like 10,000 votes in their jungle primary and came in, a distant 4th place, which is hysterical. Anyway, this is an example as well, where you have two out challengers. There's no incumbent because Katie Hill was resigning. That's why they're having the election. Two non-incumbent challengers going up against each other, and the Republicans are probably going to pick it off in a district that at least in the last election leaned blue. That's pretty good. The alternative would have been, by the way, disastrous for the Republicans. If the Republicans managed to lose this race by the same level and enthusiasm was actually reversed, they'd have to look at all the enthusiasm polling, all the national polling for 2020 and get nervous. Because one of their biggest goals right now is to retake the House by picking off vulnerable Democrats. If there's an enthusiasm gap and a centralized leadership for the GOP that's not echoed in the Democratic platform, they will be successful. They will retake the House of Representatives. Well, that's basically it. If they retake the House, even if Biden somehow magically managed to win, which I'm extremely unconcerned about at this point, judging from the fact that he's not even campaigning and largely prefers to be absent the campaign trail anyway, because every time he speaks he makes mistakes and lowers his own support, to the point where the legacy media is begging him not to campaign at all and saying, just stay hidden. That's the way that you beat Trump. Great strategy when the people who are backing you have to admit that you have to be hidden in order to win. The GOP would stymie him anyway. Not only would he be an absentee steward president with an oligarchic circle of cabinet members actually controlling things, they wouldn't have the ability to do butt-fuck anything for 2 years, probably for 4. And then by then he'd be out of office. The first female president who would be appointed as opposed to elected would take over, finish out the term, and then lose in 2024. And you know that they would. And then people would screech about sexism when that happened. Oh, it's a glass ceiling. Now we got to crack the final glass ceiling is a 2-term female president. Try one that's actually elected. Biden wants to give us one that's merely appointed to the position because he croaks or resigns. Yeah, that's a real recipe for success. Joe Biden is one of the reasons that this race is going this way. This is just a symptom of a larger problem for the Democrats. Their enthusiasm sucks because they have no leader. The person running in the presidential election is the figurehead of the party, and this affects the down-ballot races. If Trump is so legendarily weak and he's terrible, scandal-ridden, horrible, doesn't know what he's doing, he's nuts, why then are the Republicans consistently doing so good? Supposedly, Trump's irredeemable. He's deplorable. He's a bad person. Well, he beat the shit out of Hillary. You had no blue wave in 2018, and virtually all of the special election stuff that's happened since then has gone in favor of the GOP. What more evidence do you need that the legacy media in Hollywood are out of touch with the average American voter? This is fucking California. This isn't the middle of small-town Texas or Alabama or something. It's not a deep blue district. It's not a deep that the Republicans are picking up, but it's a swing district. They're managing to pick up a seat in the House. This is significant. When you look at the turnout gap, did GOP turnout up by almost double digits? Dem turnout down significantly. If that holds true in other races, and there's no reason to believe that it won't, in a mail-in election, by the way, in an era of digital and mail-in election, the GOP still managing to pick off this seat despite the fact that there was almost no in-person campaign going on? The GOP's been worried about the fact, whoa, mail-in ballots, Trump is trying to stand in the way of mail-in ballots as much as possible. The Republicans keep running around like a chicken with their heads cut off. Oh, the Democrats will steal votes. This will make there'll be ballot harvesting. You still manage to win the seat. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Differential turnout will compensate for any small amount of fraud that goes on in most of those races. That's about all. Peace out.